A good shepherd knows his sheep. You know, there's so many different types of preachers now. And I know I'm finna get a whole lot of more haters on my list. Just join in with the rest of them. Y'all can get in line. You know, as I was talking to my pastor after church, we had a deep conversation. And it's always a good thing when you got a relationship with your pastor. And I want to give a major shout out to all the pastors right now, especially those who are really doing what God say do. And we was talking about this new age preaching and the different types of preachers. And I was telling him, I'm so glad that the real preachers are standing boldly and telling the true word of God. Because when you look at a lot of different preachers, now let's look at this. And it's just my little own research. And I'm not finna go at no scriptures. It's just a real talk video. You got some preachers that have really been called by God. And they get in the pulpit. They teach it right. They don't sugarcoat it. And they live it. Then you got some preachers that uncall themselves to preach because somebody told them they sound like a preacher. So they done elevated themselves in the pulpit and it didn't have nothing to do with God. Then you got this singing preacher. Just because he can sing, that means he can run the church because he got a good voice. And probably don't have none of this in him. But then you really got some preachers that can really sing. They can hoop and holler and teach this word right. That's why I say I don't have nothing against hooping and hollering, but what are you hooping and hollering about? And then you got the philosopher, I like to call it. The preacher that's just straight teaches. And then you got the preacher that can just worship in spirit and truth. Then you got the preacher that don't come out there until the praise and worship is almost over with. But he want everybody to stay in there to hear him preach. Oh yeah, I'm talking to these preachers right now. Once again, I don't sugarcoat it. I don't care who you are. And once again, I don't care what your title is. Because you are human. You are in the flesh also, and you can fall also. We see that all the time. People have elevated themselves. Then you got these prophets who can really prophesize if it's lining up with the word of God. And then you got these false prophets like Jesus told us in Matthew. And we got to be aware of them. They dressed up in sheep clothing, but they really just raving wolves. But oh, what Jesus say gonna happen on that day? Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. I never knew you. So when we look at these different types of preachers, you got some only preach just to get a crowd going. And I'm finna really make some folks mad because the truth had to be told. And then you got that begging for money preacher that they always call in on pastor and wife's anniversary. That's his job, to get up in the pulpit and beg for all the money. And he just going off on people, telling people what they can put in. And it's sad. The begging for money preacher who would get up and beg for 20, 30 minutes or even longer than that, telling you, you got to put this in. And want to make people feel guilty because he's going to tell you how much he put in. Well, I don't care about what you put in. That ought to be between you and God. Got these lot of preachers getting up preaching stuff that they don't even do themselves. I got a problem with a pastor that always talking about praise and worship and coming to Bible study and Sunday school, and then they don't even be there themselves. Don't understand that you are the leading example. People are watching you. Better practice what you preach. Yes, I'm talking to all preachers right now. And I don't care about you getting mad at me. This is the truth. That's why Paul was instructing us, about church order and how leaders supposed to be. You can get mad at me all day. Just like I said, get on the list with everybody else. And as I talked to my pastor, I said, I thank God for you. because all pastors are not bad. My pastor ain't the one to get up in the pulpit and try to beg for a blessing. He try to teach the true word. I told him, what happened to salvation, man, being taught nowadays? I'm so sick of all this false teaching that's going on, but ain't nothing I can do about it but pray about it and move on. And people wonder why I'm on her every day. That's why I say you ain't gotta like me. I don't expect everybody to like me, and I really don't care. I ain't got time to be sitting around worried about who like me or who don't. I'll waste a lifetime with that. But that's the problem. You got people who do. They sit up and worry about, well, what's such and such gonna say about me? I wonder if I please my pastor today. I wonder if I please my brother today, my wife, my husband. Well, did you please God today? We done got so caught up in pleasing each other that we done forgot about pleasing God. Now, Paul taught us how to serve others. Yes, we're supposed to serve each other, care for one another, love each other. See, can we do all we can for each other? But we done got so caught up in ourselves nowadays. Preachers. I could talk about everybody all the way down, but I'm referring this video to these different kinds of preachers right now. That's why I said a good shepherd knows his flock. That's why I want to give a major shout out to Pastor Leonard. That's PP Drawings pastor. I done heard him speak on a lot of occasions now. PP Drawings send me stuff. You can catch him on YouTube, people. Check that man out, Pastor Leonard. PP Drawings will send you the clips. And I guarantee you will be blessed. Because he laid it out. Point blank. He don't sugarcoat it. Because he can tell you where he was at. And he can tell you where he at now. I always tell folks, man, all this condemning. Let me say it again. Then you got the condemning preacher. Who always condemning from the pulpit. He want to call out everything. Then he want to preach on folks that's sitting in the congregation. Then he want to preach on them when they leave the church. A good shepherd knows his flock. Let me tell you something about a good pastor. He's faithful. He is dedicated. He doing what God say do. That's a good shepherd. He cares about his flock. He calls them and check on them. That's a good shepherd. He preaches and he don't care. He don't care. He just lay it out on the line. That's a good shepherd. A good shepherd know his sheep. When somebody try to leave the church, he goes after them or she goes after them. That's a good shepherd. Because Jesus told us about the 100 sheep. When one astray, you go grab that one. But you got a lot of people can't grab the one. You got a lot of preachers can't grab the one because they don't know who the one is. But a good shepherd knows who that one is. And he would do all he can to get that one to come back. All he gonna do, even if they don't go to his church, a good shepherd will get out and minister to anybody. Whether they want to hear it or not. See, that's me right there. I don't care. I'm going to tell you either way it go, whether you want to hear it or not. I can say, Lord, at least I told somebody. Because you don't know who you are helping when you speak. But some folks just ain't speaking at all. I tell folks again, some of the greatest testimonies and sermons are from the people that sit in the congregation. I can go right here on the block. I'll be like, I wish some of y'all could speak at church. But they don't feel worthy enough. Because so-called Christians, you hear what I said, some of these so-called Christians have made it so judgmental. And most folks don't even want to come in the house of God now. Because they're looking at what Christians are doing to each other. A good shepherd cares about everybody. A good shepherd gonna teach on salvation, your soul. A good shepherd ain't gonna make you feel good with this word all the time. Because a good shepherd ain't gonna keep preaching what the people want to hear. A good shepherd gonna lay out what God has put on his heart. That's a good shepherd. A good pastor and his flock, they going to elevate and grow. They ain't going to sit still. Only the people that's traditional and religious is the ones that sit still. I always tell folks, you want to grow, well, you need to do something you ain't never done before. Because you do the same thing, you get the same results. A good pastor, a good shepherd loves ideas. He listens to his congregation. Not saying the congregation trying to tell him what to do, but he listens at ideas how to make the church better. A good shepherd got a good relationship with his deacon board. Uh-oh, yeah, I said it. It's very important. We done got away from that nowadays. A good shepherd got a great relationship with his musicians and minister of music. That's why I love hanging with some of the reverends I hang out with, because I can go to their house and sit down. They ain't acting all high and mighty. They ain't acting stuck on themselves like Paul told us not to do in the book of Romans. He said, don't think highly of yourself than you ought. But you got a lot of preachers think highly of themselves. And you got these prosperity preachers. That's all they preach on. Tithing preachers. All they preach on is 10%. And being cursed. The different kinds of preachers. And if preachers, you looking at this video, which one are you? Because you're going to fall in one of these categories that I called out. And there's some more categories, but you can tie them all into one, really. One or two or three. Which one are you? Are you leading the people, or are you confusing the people? Are you doing the will of God, or are you doing the will of yourself and what you see that the church needs to do? But I got a news flash for you people. If a pastor is not following God's vision, if you have no order in your church, nobody being on one accord, then you a church being led the wrong way. Oh yeah, I'm going to say it. And I'm going to say this again. If your church can't survive off free will giving, if you got to beg people for a blessing, then maybe God ain't in it. I keep saying this because I talk to more and more people that have been moved away from the church. And I try to tell them that's not what church is all about. That's why it seems like it's more bad churches than good churches. They didn't want to, make you feel guilty with this stuff. Good God Almighty, man. Sad day and time. But you know what? Like I keep telling people, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. But Christians, if you're on your guard, if you live in this word and you understand it, we don't have nothing to worry about. Yes, worse days are coming ahead, but we don't have nothing to worry about because the victory has already been won. The devil time is winding down. That's why we need to be speaking on salvation. People don't even want to get in the book of Revelation because they're scared of it. Revelation is one of my favorite books. I ain't going to even lie about that. That's why I stay in it so much. But you got to understand Revelation. But you won't understand if you won't study the word, because you got to go through the word. The Bible says faith comes by hearing, and hearing comes by the word of God. Studying to show ourselves approved. I know I just made some more folks mad, not on purpose. But God tells me to do something, I do it, and I lay it out. Take it how you want it. Deal with it how you want it. Because once again, if you thinking I'm going to be on here to make you feel good, it's a whole lot of things in here that don't make you feel good. This should convict you. I don't need nobody to convict me. I don't need nobody to condemn me. I can do that myself. I have made enough mistakes to live and learn from them. God bless you. God keep you.